Hello everyone, and welcome back to Game Time with Kit. And on today's one-off, because that's all this is going to be. It's going to just be a one-off while I chill. We are going to play a little bit of A Link to the Past. Now, this wouldn't be the first time that I've done A Link to the Past on the channel. I do believe that the VOD of my stream of it has been uploaded already. But that was a long time ago, and to be honest, I managed to drive myself insane doing that. So today what we're going to do is just do a little bit of A Link to the Past. My favourite 2D game in the series by a long while. Although, in fairness, I like the Capcom games a whole lot. And while I wouldn't say that the Capcom games are that close in ranking to Link to the Past, I definitely would say that they're some of Zelda's peak. But yeah, so A Link to the Past is probably my absolute, it's one of my favourite games of all time. You can tell that I've been playing the Game Boy games too much, because I'm struggling a little bit with the controls all of a sudden. But yeah, I'm planning to do like a little bit of each Zelda game, I think. But the game that I have planned to represent Ocarina of Time, it's very special. Blimey. The range on this sword isn't anywhere near what the range on the Game Boy sword is. It's very weird. But you know, it's only natural for it to be a bit weird for me because I haven't really played much of Link to the Past in recent times. And when I have, I very rarely have a sword for the majority of the playthrough. Because I only really play rando. Dun do 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 do. Okay. It's quite funny because this incarnation of the channel actually began with A Link to the Past, when that was the only randomizer I was really playing actively, at least on the channel. At the time I wasn't really as well versed in Ocarina of Time as I am now, so let alone Majora's Mask, which, as of filming this, I have proven my worth in, despite nearly cocking it up at the end because of a misconception I had. But, yeah. It's quite funny because the gameplay side of the channel has been doing great lately, like in terms of what content gets put out and when. But like, given I have like several reviews that are set to be released, I need to kind of hurry things up a little bit. Boom, 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 boom. The music of this game is probably like some of the series' peak. But yeah, we started out with humble beginnings with the randomizer. Boom. Hello, Zelda. It's quite interesting that like you full on meet Zelda prior to even like getting into the game, really. You know, given that the first two games have Zelda as this almost unreachable object. This does obviously mean that the Zelda 2 playthrough won't continue beyond Part 2. Which, in fairness, I think I said that in the video. Like, I don't like Zelda 2. I have been making breakthroughs with it. But the game's too grindy, in my opinion. Like, it takes the worst part of the worst parts of early RPGs and somehow makes them worse, because like, I'll tell you now, RPGs as a genre really don't interest me at all. Specifically turn-based ones. Like, I can see... I've tried to play Final Fantasy VII like a million times, given it's one of the most legendary games of all time. But it just doesn't happen. I am also, as you can tell, playing this on Nintendo Switch Online. Doom doom boom 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 doom boom. But yeah, everything about this game is really interesting to me. Boom, 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 boom. Do 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 boom boom boom. Yeah, there are very few parts of this game that frustrate me. Hey, it's ropes. This does also mean that we're probably going to do an episode of Zelda 1. Despite the fact that arguably I find that game even more infuriating than this one. Not this one, sorry, Zelda 2. Largely because I don't know, Zelda design sensibilities require hardware that can actually carry out that stuff. I hate to say that their attempts at innovation fell flat on their face, but I do genuinely believe that like it was misguided to try and do some of the stuff I tried to do on the NES. Having said that, because Zelda is basically the reason that like so many advancements ended up made. Like, I don't know, I'm mixed. I found out the other day that there are people out there that actually think Zelda 2 is really, really good. I genuinely thought that the common consensus was that while it was ahead of its time, what was there was not nearly good enough. I suppose that's what I get, really, for... Well... I hate those fuckers. With a burning passion. And again, I'm not overly keen on mice at the best of times. We can almost afford that bottle. We can now afford that bottle. Now I just need the extra rupees for some bombs. And then we can also come back here later. Once we have the power glove. But yeah, so I'm not like overly. Thing is, everyone always assumes that like when you say Link to the Past is the best 2D Zelda, or Ocarina of Time is the best 3D Zelda, or Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda ever, which I don't believe. I genuinely don't. It has gone up in my ranking since I found out how easy it is to break the whole thing. Like, I didn't fall out of love with Ocarina as such, but it was no longer. It no longer topped my rankings, put it that way. And then I was watching a tier list by Peanut Butter Gamer a few years ago, and I think this was 2020 to be precise, and there was always something about Majora's Mask I couldn't pin. There was a quality to it that I didn't understand, and I looked into that quality, and Ocarina of Time. Okay, we're not going to pick up the bottle first. Instead, we are going to go and have a chat in the store down here. So, Ocarina of Time is the it's a very weird thing to talk about, like, because it's become Marmite in the Zelda fandom, because, and I hate to use him as a scapegoat again, because I am softening by the day on Breath of the Wild, but by and large, like, it's Breath of the Wild fans that have actually reappraised Ocarina, and what bothers me is they say that it's overrated because they didn't, like, because it's too linear. First of all, Ocarina of Time is not a linear game. It railroads you a little bit, but okay, no, it's designed as a linear game, but it's not actually linear. It is ridiculously easy to stray from the beaten path. And if you don't like linear games, then you should try something like the Reverse Dungeon Order, which is a challenge performed by a lot of not necessarily speedrunners in and of themselves, but like speedrunning types. Because I've always said that the biggest problems with Breath of the Wild stem from the fact that it's too open. It's not a linear game at all. But I think it should be. I think there should be linearity there. Because the best designed games have linearity to them. Like, you can't have a good story if it's told out of order, in my experience. Well, you can. I knew there was some somewhere that I'd forgotten. We're going to forget that I cocked up a little bit. Yeah, we still have a lot of rupees. The game is constantly like throwing all sorts at you, especially at this phase of the game. But there's a few things that we're going to get before we even enter the first dungeon. It's not magic. It's just a little bottle. We're going to go into the dungeon with 5 hearts, is the plan. I do believe that... Yeah. Get... Don't know why I bothered with that. I love the Mario portraits on the walls of certain houses. Very interesting to know that there's a Mario in this world too. Two bottles. It's fine, we've got all sorts. I had planned for 5, but I don't think that... Thing is, I know where checks are in this game, but I don't... Checks being where items are found. I play a lot of randomizers, so I think in terms of what chest is where, or what item is where. Nine seconds ain't bad. Especially given that that didn't feel like a very good time. $161. Fucking hell. Very tired. I've been very tired the last few days. I really should have just like set down like going. I don't know why I've walked in there. Okay, so what we are going to do, I think, is love when that happens. We're gonna go do Lost Woods first because there's a couple of things here that we can pick up. It's not a great deal, and I don't really think it's of much consequence whether or not we do this now or later. So, mushroom. And then you'll see that there's a little wooden hut. We'll go in here. I say it's like people don't already know the entirety of this game. Like, ultimately, the vast majority of people that would watch something like this already know all about the majority of the secrets in this game. I will say that I don't have 100% on this game. I very rarely actually. In fact, I've never gotten 100%. And that is something I want to sink some time into, but not right now. I don't know why I'm starting more Zelda games when I need to. But either way, we'll beat them soon. Although, I keep getting tired like this. I'm not going to have time to finish Oracle of Seasons, let alone beat the entirety of Oracle of Ages. I was going to do 2 playthroughs of them as well. Never gonna happen. Okay, this way. Let them shoot. I feel like there's so much we gotta like handle. The whole thing's been quite slow. Okay. I don't know why that slowed down for a moment. But the way it was for you guys, could readers, like, blimey, that cost me a lot of fucking health, didn't it? And down. There we go. Not this way. You'll notice we're not going directly to the dungeon. That's because I have a plan that was mildly cocked up by having to waste some time, but oh well. We're going to stop home first, because in the home in case you're wondering, unlike the N64 app, I don't have a special controller for it, so I'm just using my Pro controller, which is fine for SNES games, I find, especially Zelda. I don't need the accuracy that a D-pad offers. It's nice, but I don't need it. Right, a couple of things to obtain here. So, first, just some bombs, just to replenish the fact that we never seem to be short on those. But to be fair, we are going to need bombs in a minute, so it's probably a good thing that we've got a fair few. To be fair, we don't need bombs, but like, they help. And then we've opened that up. So, heart piece obtained. Kill some Octoroks, get some rupees. I don't know why it's being so, like, slow today. This isn't the NSO app, this is my Elgato being weird. There we go, and we only lost out on 1 rupee over it. Bombs. 20. 300 rupees. See? Helpful. And that means that we'll have enough by the time that we have the power bracelet to go and get the flippers. Although that won't be on video. I can almost guarantee that now. As we're already half an hour into this video and we aren't even anywhere near where we're supposed to be. These fuckers electrocute you if you touch them with your metallic sword, so you just whack a bush at them. You just ignore these. You can kill them, don't bother. It's a complete waste of time. I seem to get a lot of rupees off of Octoroks in this game. Not that I'm complaining, it's nice to get rupees. Right, the crabs are one of the worst things to deal with in this game, as they take 2 whole hearts of damage. Ice Rod. Do that. And naturally, we've got that little option. So, yeah, what we'll do is we'll do the entirety of the first dungeon, and then probably stop it there. I probably shouldn't have gone in without. That happens sometimes. Why are you whinging at me? Ugh. Okay, we don't actually need to fight these fuckers, it's just fun. Occasionally. We already have quite a lot of items. Like, given that we're still, like, in the first 20 minutes of the game. But yeah, there is plenty that you can do before so much as touching the first dungeon. Not as much as some people would like, and that is valid. Like, he says to come back for him after you, he wants you to bring back the pendant from the first dungeon. From the Eastern Palace, I believe it's called. 50. Bombs. 50. Game is full of useful stuff. I will say that I don't want them to ever remake this game. Just keep re-releasing it as is. It really doesn't need any changes. Like, I'm not being funny. We really don't need to be remaking games that are already basically perfect. Such as the vast majority of the Super Nintendo's library. And it's the best the series has ever really looked, in my opinion. Like, 16-bit pixel art is just phenomenal, and I don't really see a need to ever change it. Like, am I glad that we've got, like, way more expansive graphic styles? Sure. But right, so first over to the left. Right. Chest. But yeah, so this game, in my opinion, this game is a timeless classic, and I don't really like. People call it nostalgia bias, but I'm not really that nostalgic for A Link to the Past. I only learned how to play the fucking thing to the end, like, in 2019. That's not I am a little bit nostalgic for, like, 2019, but that's entirely based on how different my life was then. Like, it's not the media that was released in 2019, or that I played or listened to, or whatever. In 2019, the entire reason I'm nostalgic for that year is that since then my life has been more and more chaotic. I mean, 2019 was the last year before COVID, and as soon as COVID stopped, I was working and heading off to uni. You know, by the time that we were finally free of all lockdowns, I had actually, like, full on started a job as a bartender. Which is why, like, not to say that there wasn't some good in 2020. That was when we got started doing, like, proper, like, regular-ish content. Realistically, as regularly as I could be bothered for. As YouTube is not and never will be my job. I'm not going to be the sort of person that does that. Right, so we progress, and I believe they're called Igors then. I don't know why I'm even bothering to do this bit. It's of absolutely no consequence. But yeah, so we already have a full quiver of arrows, so... But yeah, no, it's like... My life took a total turn in the last couple of years. Originally I wasn't going to go to like university or anything, but like... It's really quite funny because I did it because of watching the TV show Boy Meets World. Like, I moved entirely because the idea of moving away and starting a new life on my own, at the time it sounded honourable and appealing, and ultimately that is to me that's something incredible. I really should have seen if I could try and visit not Maple, the other one. Syrup. Maple's the apprentice that pesters you in the Oracle games. Because then I'd be able to deal with they're bubbles, they're not jinxes. For a minute I was going to call them a jinx, but jinx refers to a very specific... No, wait, they might be jinxes actually. I don't know, jinxes and bulls are very similar but like very different, is my understanding. Okay. We have the bow. It's still so interesting that that's how the game treats you, like that actually happens, like that there's like these 4 enemies that you're probably not going to be able to actually defeat. But yeah, it might have been worth me fighting, like, it might have been worth me packing some magic powder if that was possible, but like, oh well, can't fix that now, so. And besides, I don't struggle with this game nearly as much as I did when I first entered this room. I say I still take serious amounts of damage, but like... Okay, here we go. So upstairs, where we once again now have to deal with the bullshit. Heart. Done. Arrows. Okay. Heart. Arrows. Good. This is actually one of the only like early... In fact, this is the earliest Zelda game that I have physically. Technically. I do have the first 2 Zelda games on physical media. It's just not the original way they were released. Okay, so I really, really need to stop screwing up like that. Okay, that is fun. Still got quite a lot of time left. Okay, I really didn't need to let that fly. Well, that could have gone better. I used to be really good at that fight. I still remember the first time I did it on a SNES Classic at my good friend Sean's house. It's quite funny, the save file that we started on there never got finished. I never owned a SNES Classic, but it's definitely something that I wanted, but, well, wasn't working back then. Still not now, technically, though I say that, but I've got a shift tomorrow at my old work. The joys, eh? But, yeah. No. Right, what you got for me? Really don't need to hear the extra details. Sahasrara. Otherwise known as Rauru for kids. Not for kids, but you know what I mean. Right, Pegasus boots. Which is always good. A good pair of Pegasus. I don't know why I'm acting like there's still anything to do, like, in this area. Yeah, so what I did once manage to do was, there was one time, just one, that I was able to go and visit the Chris Houlihan room of this game. The Chris Houlihan room is a particularly interesting place, as it's, I don't know how to explain it. Like, there was a contest a very long time ago. I can't remember how to actually chase him down, but I want to beat him. I'm sneaking into your house. She's one of the ones that calls the guards if you go anywhere near her. Well, if you go too near her. As you can see, she's not that sensitive. You can actually catch that and use that as like a way of... I'm really not 100% sure how to catch this guy. You don't need to, and in fact I actually don't think it offers you anything good in this game. Oh, easy to kidnap Zelda. See? Absolutely no good reason to do it, but I wanted to show that off. It's Link Between Worlds that made him useful to catch. That's not a compliment on Link Between Worlds part, like, as such. Like, to be fair, it is, but, like, I don't like Link Between Worlds. I think the item rental system is part of the degradation of Zelda into something worse. But occasionally good things happen in it. You know, they make a few areas not redundant. Here is one such way of doing stuff. To 2 out of 4 pieces of heart required to make a new container. We're going to see if we can go and get some magic powder, as it really helps in dungeons. Like, specifically in dungeons. There are other there is one other use for it, but like, this is the primary use. And why are we doing so well? Here we go. Here we go. I do believe that it goes to Maple here. And this is the way they stop us from going past. So we can't go and visit the Zora yet. As you can see, there's a whole fence around it. And you need a power bomb. Not power bomb, power glove. Can't swim. I actually had meant to walk around the other side of the tree, but oh well. So the next thing we need to do in this game is go and pick up the Book of Medora, which is a book that allows us to interpret ancient Hylian. May as well do the second dungeon. It took us like 10 minutes tops to do that. I'm an idiot. Here we go. It didn't take us very long to do the first dungeon, so no reason not to. Just out of curiosity, because I genuinely have forgotten. I think no, it's an item shop. There is somewhere, not a million miles away, I believe. Like, to be fair, there's a couple of neat secrets in the game that it would help if I'd ever remember the exact locations of them. Look at me justifying myself about getting a couple of secrets wrong, when in fairness there's an entire game dedicated to shuffling around secrets like this. And my specialty is no longer my specialty is no longer linked to the past. Like it used to be, genuinely. As I dedicated a fair bit of time to learning it. Not on the same level I'm trying to learn Ocarina of Time, and naturally have learned Ocarina of Time over the years. For the record, I don't believe in nostalgia blindness. I don't. Or at the very least, I don't think it is the case most of the time. People only call things nostalgia blindness when they're like mad that someone's opinion doesn't line up with theirs. Like a Breath of the Wild fan claiming that the only reason why someone thinks Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda game, that's not, like, that claim that that's nostalgia blindness isn't valid. It's not correct. What it is a severe cope. And if you think I'm ragging on Breath of the Wild fans too much, I'm glad that I'm getting through. It's just occurred to me that I needed to go to Kakariko. I knew there was something. I was going to do the second dungeon, but we are approaching an hour and I'm already tired of talking. Like, good grief, this game. Like, it's good, but I always used to be sleepy when I played it as well. But the fun thing back then was I used to film on Mondays in particular, as Monday was my day off college. I still remember filming, winging it, and the randomizers, because I used to do those like all within a small margin of each other. And to be fair, I'm still relatively proud of most of the parts of my Winging It video. I'm mostly proud of the fact that I got it done, if I'm being honest. But my Winging It video was obviously very early in this channel's lifetime. Well, very early in this incarnation of the channel. Eventually I might, like, to be fair, I am planning to, like, make... I'm not even going to bother healing. One of the best overworld themes in the series, up there with Termina Field and the Great Sea. Like, don't get me wrong, the Twilight Princess overworld theme is brilliant. And is a great take on, It's a great take on the, Ocarina of Time field theme with what's it called? With courage spliced into it. Pray and you shall pass. And be gated in. Oh. Here we are. Here we are. But yeah. I have yet to see criticisms like "you're just nostalgia blind" actually be used for anything besides indicating bias. Like on the part of the person calling out the supposed bias. Like, first of all, bias is not something that you can avoid. And if we want to go down the road of you're just nostalgia biased, then a lot of people are recency biased. And I hold myself to the standard of recency bias because I'll make this clear now. My first impressions on a Zelda game cannot be trusted. When I wait long enough for a game, I tend to build it up in my head quite a bit as something that it's not, which is what I did with Breath of the Wild. I told myself that I had to love the game. And you're the only person that can tell someone if you're experiencing so-called nostalgia bias. Some random person on Twitter telling you that you are. It has no meaning because they're not you. Yeah. And, you know, first of all, like, another thing that I get, like, frustrated at is people calling themselves unbiased critics, because they're not. They never are. Why? It's impossible. You're biased about everything. You just are. That is called having an opinion. But you'll have people... To be honest, this is me bitching about Star Wars fans again. I'm going to make that incredibly clear. Like, I am annoyed with Star Wars fans daily. In particular, I'm annoyed at the Weasley little bitches who have a bit of a habit of quoting the same video as a reason why. What is, in fairness, my least favourite Star Wars film is... Well, it's not. It's my second least favourite. on account of the fact that pretty much everything wrong with it is the fault of the film before it. And that would be The Last Jedi. I don't think it's very good. And don't get me wrong, I am... Cheers, game! Yeah, I don't like The Last Jedi, but everything that it does that I don't like is either the fault of the film for being boring, or the fault of the film before it, because... Let's be real, any problems you have with Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, they can be traced back to J.J. Abrams, who created the film that put Luke on that fucking island to begin with. Like, let's not joke with ourselves here. The Last Jedi is not perfect. In fact, it's barely even good. But, like, the vast majority of its problems have nothing to do with Rian Johnson. But equally, every single person on Twitter that has said in the last couple of weeks regarding, for example, The Mandalorian, oh, Jon Favreau is just someone that likes to see his action figures clash together. Yeah, you aren't good at criticising anything and should probably shut up. Like, come on, guys. First of all, drop the cynicism. You're talking about a fucking film about space wizards. Like, there's no place for cynicism in fandom. I've said it for a while now, and I'm really bad for it. Like, I'm not gonna lie. There's a reason that the Zelda community thinks I'm a complete asshole. Like, or at least the parts of the community that I've interacted with think that. Like, don't get me wrong, I was gonna say something really stupid, but, like, that's not true either. But my viewpoint is pretty widely held amongst Zelda circles. Admittedly, my viewpoint isn't quite as simple as it was 6 months ago. But my viewpoint isn't uncommon. Like, I've had a bit of a habit of provoking Breath of the Wild fans for longer than I care to admit. But in fairness, if I didn't stand a chance of being listened to permanently, I would never have had an issue with them. Okay. I knew it would be on the opposite side that I thought it would be. But yeah, like, ultimately, like, I don't like that linearity could be a thing of the past for Zelda now. You know, because Breath of the Wild sold as well as it did, which, by the way, is nothing to do with Breath of the Wild. Like, it was the only remotely decent game on the Switch for way longer than I care to admit. I knew it. But, like, Breath of the Wild was the only good game on the Switch for a very long time. Like, the wait between Breath of the Wild and Splatoon 2 and ARMS was excruciating, and ARMS wasn't even that good. Like, it was passable, but it was not. It was not the sort of game that, like, you could play forever. I would know. I sold the game eventually, which I should never have done, but, like, okay. But yeah, like, people have a very specific idea of what well written means, and I don't think that it's nearly as universal as they're currently pretending it is. And this will annoy a lot of people if they ever listen to what I had to say. Like, even people that, like, I have a decent amount of respect for on a personal level. Like, the shit that JXE got over her 5-hour video on Doctor Who, like, that was stupid. Like, my issue isn't with criticism. My issue is with cynicism. And you'll find that the big difference between criticism and cynicism is that criticism comes after the event, while cynicism comes before. But also, cynicism is saying things like, oh, we don't need to see or hear from the original trilogy's gang ever again because we should only be telling new stories, we shouldn't be looking back. That's cynicism. Like, it's not the reasonable take they pretend it is. Like, but yeah, so I'm actually gonna end it here. We're nearly at an hour, and we need to stop before I can start, like, properly getting into this, because I don't think it's worth constantly bringing up. But thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next Zelda random video, like, which may film very soon. We'll see. See you later, guys. Love you all.